The camera's over there. So as to be able to see what you're doing, and if you were looking over here, you could look over here. But how would you determine? I guess I am live as we speak. Which, so how do you? Uh-oh, what just happened? They're probably looking at me, and I don't even know. Oh, there it is. I don't even know what I'm reading something else. So, how would you share screen? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then pick one. And don't want to do that one because that's the one I'm on. But, I'm going to figure this out somehow. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the one I'm on. So that is, let me put that over there. Since I can share that screen, MC. Let's see what happens. So now it quit showing me. Oh, and I'm down there in the corner. And then I can say what I'm doing, which is what I want to do. And there's the outline of what's being recorded, I think. So I can get rid of that. And then I can come over here and do what I'm doing, which is going through my morning list. And when I go through my morning list, as I do it, I thought I had marked that one. Oh, okay. It's taking time because I'm running video and everything else on this thing, so I need to figure out how to cut all that stuff out. But then I can sit here and make note of what I am doing so I can go back over it later in the day. Yeah, and to analyze what trades are doing what because oh, and there it is. Stop sharing. There it is right there. Okay. So I can just go through chart by chart real quick. And actually, right now, figure out why I did the trades I did. Because they're going to come up. So we'll start at the top and work our way down. And then see where I'm at right now on my positions that are active. I have, so a couple of those will come up. This one won't come up, so I'll go ahead and do it first. And might as well do it first because it's the big one that's going good. And actually, it's to a spot where I was thinking I might start doing the managing my stop because so I took this one out of class um, and our class he goes over a bunch of different deals and marks up the whole sky on both of my different classes, actually three different ones where people are going through. So nobody's telling me what to trade. But what you do is you go through with what they're telling you, and then you go, okay, I see that, and that's where I'm going to go, and I'm going to do that one. And I did this one, and it's kind of cool because if you see right here, it has a little blue arrow that lets you know when you actually got in the trade, and then a little carrot pops up. If you can, I'm getting ready to point at the screen, which does me no good. But there's a little blue carrot that pops up. It's right there on the blue line because there's a blue line So you always know this is the spot where you got in. That's the price that you got in, right? That exact price, 448. That blue arrow lets you know the exact moment, and that little caret on the line lets you know that it was in this minute of, or this is an hour of chart. So it lets you know it was in that hour of 12 o'clock that you bought one at 448. And then this is what it's done since then. It came up and went down, came all the way back down, way down here. This is why you have to set that stop loss to be prepared to let it drop, and the reason that I went with it is because it did this little double top here. So there is some pressure pushing it to keep going up from down here, down at this low spot. And so I'm counting on that to maintain the truth. And when you go out on a wider scale, and this is just what I'm finding amazing, is that so it's got to push back up through the same problem that it had here, right? That indecision. But you can see that it's kind of done that. And I'm thinking that that's because this was where the decision was made. And then it was push it on down, which means as it comes back up there, there's nothing there to stop it really. There was a little hesitation in there, and then it just is moved through there, without, at least so far, that back and forth, up and down. My hope ultimately is that we're going all the way up here, and I use a slightly different deal, like my zones, because it lets me know where I saw what I'm talking about. Like if I go down to an hour on that particular rectangle right there, you can see that it was in this hour, right at 12 o'clock. And it's not so much that hour that I'm looking at, but that's where the formation like made a change. Okay, I thought maybe something popped up. But yeah, it lets me know that, or what I think is happening here, right, is that there was activity here that sparked a change, right? Sellers, you could say, took control and moved the thing down, moved the price down. And when it got to a point, buyers jumped in at enough of a level. And if you zoom way out, you might see that. If you zoom way out, sometimes you can see even where that happens, based on, again, it's really pretty amazing to start to try to grok, to understand price action. So I don't want to come off as this is just, it's a public diary of what I'm trying to learn, is all it is. So I'm starting to see like this is where that decision is starting to happen. And not on this particular trade, but something I learned about just yesterday. I think I learned about it, but didn't know what I was even hearing. But to see how the difference just in it's the same information, just looked at with a slightly different perspective, and it starts to change it so much. I mean, this is one candle is the whole week, Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday. So those 4 candles are suddenly all these days, right? So you have to come way out to start to see things that they just look different. It's kind of wild. They just look different when you're looking at them the week and the daily. But you start to see how they also look the same within the larger scheme, right? Within the larger perspective. Uh, yeah, it's crazy because what I was able to do on a deal earlier was look at a trade, and not on this particular one, and I'll see if I can find it uh, here in a minute. Oh, that's what I changed up my list. Uh, when I found earlier was like a situation like this, so I'm already in this trade to go up to here. I got into it here. Um, I'm trying to remember why I got into it exactly, but and it may have been the same thing because there were these reds going down. You could see the price was going down, and then that there was this change that was about to happen. And so what I did um, was entered in a buy stop, which stops the buy until it gets to that price. And so as soon as it actually got above where it was at that point that I made that decision, because it was already green and I was already like, okay, I see this is happening. And you set that price one tick above it, which is similar or not similar, which is like saying like, show me you're gonna do it. If you're really going up, then I'll ride with you. So once it got there, it went up, and you can see it kind of did. There was this dip back, but for the most part, it went straight on up. I mean, there it is right there. You can see on the 4 hour that it went in here, and then there was a dip down, but now it's gone up. And this was over. So I say straight up. It didn't go straight up. It went kind of straight down. And that's where the patience comes from, and that's where the looking at the charts and saying, okay, this is what it is telling me, and this is what I'm understanding to be happening. So this is what I expect to happen or to have some probability of happening, which is in that particular instance that looking at it at a higher time frame, right? When I see that it is starting to make this move back up from where it was, then I say, okay, let me know that that's what you're really doing. Well, I still have to give it that. I've heard one, not one of my, I'll call them professors because I'm learning, but not one of my professors, but another guy that I was listening to and following some of what he was talking about. And he was calling it giving the trade room to breathe, right? So making it so that it's got room to breathe, right? To it's not just going forward. Like I said, this is a representation of millions of people's decisions to buy and sell. Millions of people in their basements, people with millions of dollars on the table with like when you start talking about like banks and insurance companies and the big hedge funds and the institutional traders, and then little people like me with my little $500 and somebody who's got their, there's all these people who are making decisions individually, and it's happening and being represented collectively. And as it's happening, you're kind of saying, okay, this is what I see happening. And so you're kind of riding. Somebody said, and I had thought about this before, and it's cool when other people see the same kind of thing, but it's like waves within waves, right? Because you're watching and you're seeing that on a monthly or weekly level, it's happening this way, right? The wave is moving this way. But even as you're saying the wave is moving this way, you see that you're going up and down. So on another level, it's not looking the same way or feeling the same way. Like here's on a month where you just can see this dip, But to look at it over the course that it took to make that over those weeks, there was a drop here for some consecutive weeks, and then there was some time where not just bloop bloop, but some time was spent down in there before it went up. And if you were watching and knowing what you were looking at as as it was forming, like here, once again, you would have said, okay, if you start moving up above here, I'll get in right here. So then I might have said that I'm gonna get in when you show me. Listen, I don't, I don't do this thing very well. Oh, that's right, because I've got that other thing going. So I want to do it this way. I can make a line, get away from everybody. There's another way to do this that would be easier, and I'm gonna start doing it that way. Because what I'm gonna do is once you get above here, once you start going click, and you're gonna show me that that's what you want to do, then I'm gonna go ahead and get in. Now I could have done that since this is a week-long calendar or candle. I could have done that at some point in here when it was here, and I say, okay, you've already gone above this one, so I'm going to keep on watching you and see if you're going on up, or maybe even right after it's come down all this way, and now it's made this turnaround. I like to call it the James Brown heading for the turnaround. But when it gets there and it's making that turnaround, this is where you might have said, here, since I said you can do it, this is where you might have said, look, you find, and then you can't remember where the hell the thing is. It's a brush, bro. It's a brush. Where you at? There it is. I'm going to put it up there so I can find it next time. All right. So, because I don't remember what the hell I was talking about, but I'm going to get it. So, when you look at it, and you're here, right here, in the course of this is the week. So it's at the end of the week. We could say this is on Friday even. And you say, man, we did this whole thing where it looks like it's going to turn around. You could right then and there say, I'm going to put this when it gets above that. When the market shows me that it's going to go above that, I'm going to believe it. And I'll put the risk on. Because when you do that, you're going to end up you're going to say, as soon as you give up right here, I'm going. Okay. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to go from there all the way down here, because this is where that price turned around, was right down there. That was the low spot that it got to. So I think of everything as driving, because I drove for 30 years professionally. That it's like that skid, right? When you're sliding out, you want to make sure you know where that bumper corner is going to go, where the wheel, you got to know more than just where my wheels are. You also have to be aware of that excess, that shift that's going to take place as you're moving around. It's not just I'm turning like this, because there's a shift that's happening. You have to be aware of that. That's what those wicks are to me. And so when I see that is where it's turned around, that's where I've got to make that risk cover, at least that. So now I'm in the belief that this is my area that I'm looking at, right? And I'm going to play with this since I can. I don't know if it'll let me do it. I can do it right. Okay. Oh. There's a way you can cut the things off, and I ain't gonna worry about that, because there's a way you can get rid of those bars and then make them pop back up and like relive the moment. But just imagine that all this is gone, and this is all you got right here. So you say, I'm gonna get in when it does that. But look what happens. It opens right here, because this means that it opens here, closed here. This was the lowest and the highest point. So it opened beneath where you said you wanted in. So you start out the day on Monday and nothing's happening for you. And I don't know when during the week. I can look down in the days and see, uh, but you can see that on Monday, there it is. You can see that you said you wanted to open up here because that was the highest point that it got. In that 5 day period previously, which was actually clear back on the Monday. So you bought it. You said, man, you looking like you want to tell me something. So you bought into it and you bought it, but then it still opened up underneath, and I'm not gonna be able to show it from there. It still opened up underneath where you said. So you didn't get in until it finally rose up to that point. Once it rose up to that point, it kept going. Then it did this, came way back down, almost to where you were going to get out. And that's when you were freaking out, unless you just accepted that this was your risk that you might lose out on, with the understanding that this is what you're going for up here. You're looking for this thing to replay what it just went through. Because there's one guy that I listen to says, when the price goes up, the price comes down. The price goes up, the price goes down. Other people talk about the cycle, then you talk about the price going up and consolidating here, then it goes down and consolidate here. It's the same thing. Whether you, because remember I showed you here when I did, I said bloop, bloop, but if you break it down, it's bloop, bloop, you're hanging out down here. If you break it down even further, it's like, man, you hung down here forever. If you break it down even further, it's like, man, what were you doing? Well, those are all places and spaces where you could get in and deal with it if you are aware that what's going on a higher level is this, right? Which I'm not anywhere. I'm learning how to move these charts around. But if you're aware that this is what's happening on a higher level, then when you're down in it, you can go like, okay, I'm going, man, this hill is so long. Or, it's again, I think of everything as driving, right? Like if you are aware that I'm looking at a map and it's telling me that I'm getting ready to have a turn come up right here and that it's going to be a dip, it's okay when I make that turn and it suddenly drops. I kind of knew that was coming, or that there's going to be some turns in the road because I see that that's what's coming. And then I know that on the other side, this is where I'm supposed to end up. If I'm on the right road, right? Because that's the other reality that we have here, is that always, and that's where you make your risk. You decide that, man, if I'm right, if I'm right here at this point, that it's going to go up, I'm willing to risk that it might need to come all the way back down here before it does it. Then I got to have the faith to do that, because as you can see, what happened in reality, move this so I can move it a little bit. So what happened in reality is that it went up a little bit and then came almost all the way back down before, boom, you go all the way up. And what you're looking at here, if I had done this, and I didn't do this, this was weeks ago, this was clear back in August, when I didn't know anything about what I was looking at. But if I had known, then I would have looked at that and said, okay, I see what's happening. With the stuff I learned yesterday about the buy stop, I would have said, okay, I think this is like what's going to happen. Why do you think that's what's going to happen? Well, if I go back and I look, it went down and went up. It went down and went up. It went down and comes back up. It takes longer to get back up. I heard somebody say bears, where they how they said bulls, because bulls is when the price is going up. Bearish is when the price is going down. They said bulls take the stairs, bears jump out the window, because a lot of time the price just drops, and then it just takes, like, they got to do the stairs. Like, that's it. You got to take the stairs to get back up to where you were. This is, I've seen, these charts are amazing as you start to understand. But I've seen one uh, back when I first was starting to learn this stuff, like looking at the Great Depression, and you can see where it dropped right down, and then just how it took almost 30 years to get back to where it was. But it did eventually get back to where it was and to continue up, because of the way that more and more and more people are coming onto the market, I guess you would say, and things are expanding. Because I mean, in my lifetime, more and more people have gotten involved in, not just in the trading, but in the economy. But that's I don't, let me not be trying to make no kind of statements about nothing I don't know, which means I ain't got nothing to say, except I'm checking my stock, or checking my charts on here, and looking at some of my actual positions. That one, I just off of it, but that was like one of my actual. That wasn't that. Was that? That wasn't Nicole. Or oh yeah, it was. That's the other reason that I would not have just jumped, you know, and said, "Oh, let me do this," because these things cost. Maybe this one is one. Okay, yeah, this one has like an $1,800 for one contract for the place where I set that loss, because this is a different one, but it's the same motion, right? It's going down, 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 down. It gets to that bottom. There's that swing. I said, hey, if you're going to make it, if you're going up from here. If you actually trade above this point, then I'll believe that you're going up. Okay, so it did, and now it's continued to do so. It's here. At this point, I could move that stop up, but I'm still believing in what I'm looking at, and I will probably move that stop up, like when it gets to a 1-to-1 position, which is, you know, the same distance that it, when it makes that whole move there. That's because of a mechanical decision, right? That I'm just making, that it's like, when it does this, then I will do that. And then, so I put my original target, because this is paper trading, I can't do multiple contracts, because in reality, you could do like, I'm going to buy 4 contracts. And then when it gets to this price, then I'll sell the one contract, take that profit, which pays for all the others. And then let the others just keep moving the price up to decide when you would sell that contract, because that's ultimately what you're doing right here. Is I bought the contracts here, and then as the price went down a little bit and then worked its way up, it's now at uh 1037 on that one, right? On that one contract. So I was willing to risk 1862 on it out of my $10,000. This is paper trading. I don't want people to think I'm that's my money. My money is waiting to till I learn how to drive before I get, this is a bumper car. This is a bumper car. And when I learn how to drive, I'll get my car out. I am not trying to scratch and dent my own vehicle. You dig what I'm saying? My wife would probably kick me out of the car. You know what I'm saying? Um, so what I'm doing, we're going down. I decided to catch it on the way back up. If I'm right, then it's from here to here, and I'm following it. Now, when it gets, this is why I'm recording this, so that I can have these stuff in my mind as I'm doing it, right? So I want that one to one, and I'm sure there's better ways of doing this. And you one, go ahead and tell me because I am in no ways, and then I'm gonna clone that so that I got a copy of it, and then I'll just put that one here. So when I get to the top of that line right there, cut it out. When I get up there, where that is, get rid of that thing. Now, what just happened? Right? I was trying to get rid of that thing because it's just kind of goofy. But in any case, when I get to this point, I will move my stop loss up to here, at which point it will be locked in for or about. Oh, that's why because it was busy trying to do that. It'll be locked in at or what the hell is going on? Oh man, I'm like just drawing shit all over my chart. Okay, now, sorry folks, I did put that thing saying nobody under 18 or not nobody, but it ain't for you if you're a kid. So anyway, although it is for you if you're a kid, you teach your kids this stuff. But yeah, so it will be at or about $1,800 when it gets to that point. So I'm going to make an alarm so that it'll remind me to come check it out when it gets to that point. And this will likely be next. This could be next week. And today is Friday, and it's 11:45, so it could be next week before this happens. So what I want to do is let myself know that this is where I want to move stop loss and TP take profit up from here. I don't know what to do from here with that because what I will do from here is set it to that, like I said, that mechanical one to one. So I will boom, put my stop loss right here, and then I'll just take this and kind of jack it way up here. But not just any old where, like, oh, I'm gonna let it ride to the moon. I'm gonna look at this from a wider perspective, right? When I get to that point, I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, okay, if I move it from here, this is now going to be my stop loss, and price is going to, at that point, be up here. If it's continuing to move, it's going to run into whatever it is right here and do a, ooh, I don't know what it's going to do. It might just come here and fall back off. That's happened before, right? Because you can look and see where prices, well, this one has, I mean, it's risen before and then said, boom, falling off. Risen before and then boom, falling off. It's risen before. So that could happen. So we don't know what's going to happen at that point, but I will have locked in profit there. If it continues, I'll give it that room to breathe. So I may not lock in profit at exactly 1800. It depends what the chart looks like, because the chart may be like over here. Here is an area where I'm going to look at when I go to move that stop loss. I'm going to move it to some place where price has already kind of showed a stopping indecision point, where it's kind of volleyed around right in there. So wherever that will be, so maybe it'll be 1200, maybe it'll be 14, whatever it'll be, and that's where I will have my stop loss locked. So at that point, I'm going to, okay, I'm locked in at profit there for that amount. Then I will move on up and start looking at whether or not with this take profit, I'll look at whether I want to move it here where it is now, which is kind of there because that's where the next resistance point is, where the next indecision spot was. So if I get through that zone, as I call it, right, if I get through that zone of area, zone of activity, the next place I am looking at really, right, because I'm looking back in time now, I'm looking back here. So the next time I go up and keep looking straight back, the next time you get one of those indecision spots again, and I'm going to go ahead and mark it here on the daily, right? That's the next spot that I'm looking at. Then I will, and this is like I said, probably Monday before any of this would happen, but I'll look at moving that up into here. And at that point, I'm just waiting to see what the market does, and I just kind of ride with it. Now, right now, I could lock it in. There's $962, and that is a great debate that is going on inside of me right now. I mean, it's like, dude, this is why I haven't marked at percentages because I prefer to not freak myself out by looking at it because you can set that to where it'll show you like this is 1800 and this is 2500 and this is how much you are up or down right now. So it's going to show you, but it's down here too. So like right now it's at $1,000. Well, I'm gonna show you how to talk yourself into in your plan, but I'm not really because I'm. Whew, yeah, see, I still don't have what I was looking for. I was thinking that I might see that resistance spot, and the closest I would do would be to come like here and look at this and say that uh, this time frame right here, which was this morning when they were locking prices in, this is a spot where I can move that to and say, okay, I'm not gonna risk all of this anymore. Okay, I'm not going to do this, but I'm going to talk myself out of it and then resist the urge and perhaps use this, hey, Coach T, as a way to send to my coach to see if I'm thinking about this properly. Because I want to say that if I move my stop loss from here to here right now, that's going to cut me way down. Like that means that worst case scenario, instead of 18, it could be that's more than half of that. So it's going to be less than $900 of risk on there. And it feels like a thing I could do when what I just got you saying was I was going to wait until it was actually feasible for me to move that stop loss above the deal at a break point. So I'm looking at this now and seeing like there's an indecision point, right? Or a base, if you will, right? Like it started to rally out of there and then it based right there. I'm trying to keep myself from going down the frames because as you go into smaller and smaller time frames, you can see, like I just said, that base that was right there. So then that becomes like just that much easier for me to say this is the spot where I want to mark my deal instead of waiting until price gets up here because it means I'm not believing it. But it's showing that it is doing what I suspected. Now, it isn't yet through this whole zone. It isn't guaranteed that it won't turn around at this point, come way back here and still take off. I mean, all of those things are possible. I mean, remember this isn't the one we looked at earlier, but here's another example where if you had got in here because of the structural reasons, then you might have seen it drop way back to close to where you were at before going well up above to where you would have made, two times your money on that, right? And that's just looking at that same price when it has been on that price on that blue line there, right? So it's there. If you had got in here, or rather got in one of these spots, you would have had to watch it go down before coming back up, and ultimately going to where you want it. So you just have to have that belief that you're getting an understanding, that your understanding is giving you an idea of where things are going, because you don't have. It's a little bit like reporting the weather, right? They tell you that it's coming, and this is where it's going to be, but they can't tell you exactly who's going to get rained on, or or whatever the conditions are going to be that are coming. They can't tell you exactly what the temperature is going to be. They can give you a range. They can't tell you exactly what time it's going to rain. They can't tell you where exactly. It's just these ranges that you can get, and um, then you carry your umbrella or don't carry your umbrella. You go do the picnic or don't do the picnic. You have to make decisions based on what it's telling you, what the information you have is telling you. Now, I'm also thinking, man, 1% sounds like a good number. um, because I really, really want to lock that in. But boy, I would love to add 2,500 to my account, which, by the way, started at 5,000. I got to figure out how to get all this stuff where I can see it um, better, because like I'm pushing the button a lot. These are a lot more trades than a real me would trade. This is, like I said, bumper car. So I'm just like, hey, what if you do that? And he's like, whoa, man, $600. It was $500. Talking about losses, $100. That's about where I would want to keep it, in $100 to $200 on an account of this size. But there were some times when I was risking way more than that. Yeah, this thing goes way, way back. So yeah, this is since September um, that I started the account with $5,000. Have tried to stay pretty close to my deals. I mean, I am doing experiments and whatnot, like I said. But starting with $5,000, I am now at 10,343. So yeah, I'm like doubled the size of my account in a little under 2 months. So I'm ecstatic about that. Um, I got to figure out how to get this to where I can see my info better so I can do some analysis on it, because the reality of it is, here's how it doubles, right? Is using the techniques. That's $400 of a win, 155 for a win, 1250 for a loss. That means I had a very small stop loss in there, $75 for a stop loss. 620 is probably one that got away from me. Uh, well, it was crude oil, and crude oil is more expensive to trade. So that's one that, because I'm not utterly opposed, especially once I got to the point where I had 10,000 in there, which happened. I close to doubled the account the first month, because, like I said, I some of my stuff was not super well disciplined. Um, I was looking to see. I thought I got like one trade that was like, okay, that's not fair, and I won't even count that. But I don't see it now because I restarted this account because I had one account, and it's like over the summer when everybody was talking about Nvidia, I was like, oh hey, let me go just do that, and it's like that's not. I wasn't doing nothing except clicking on a button that with no kind of uh, thought behind it other than you know David Muir and Lester Holt said Nvidia's going through the roof today, and I was like, well, I'm going with them. And so that is not the way one wants to try and trade. That's the one way. That is the way one wants to go broke. So I'm not trying to do that. Um, I'm trying to get an understanding of what's happening. And yeah, I don't see that in here. So I think after the September when I reset this, so there was where that was a solid trade. I'm pretty sure too. That was one where I did some things. See, that's why I got this set up here because that was October 8th. So that one was $1,100 trade, um, which, like I said, once you start doing these things where you can let it run, then you start having the ability to or the chance rather to see something that you got in here for 25, but you see that there is a possibility, not a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination, but a possibility that also is not, or it's impossibility is not. What am I saying? It ain't far fetched. It's not a guarantee, but it ain't far fetched to see this price action go up here. A, it's done it before. Well, actually, I guess on this particular, that is a high. Well, up here would be above the high, right? But it has done it before, right? So that's all I'm looking at is what has it done before? How did it do it? That's when you're looking at structure, and then you start to understand how that works. So yeah, it's kind of cool. That's that one trade that I keep going back to because it's so big, and that's me being stuck on the money. And so let me get off of that and do what I'm here to do, which this one is not marked, or is it just taking its time to get to other markings? I think this one is not marked. So on the weekly, I can see that there was this turnaround right there. This was a turnaround spot. This is where it happened. There was price came down here, but it never, like this is a spot where we call it a zone is. Now, again, we at this all-time high. So, we just are looking our way down at it all. And if I do that and start looking now at my dailies, again, looking for these spots, again, where there was a price turnaround and more than just a turnaround, but that there was, this is daily, more than just a turnaround, but that there was a, uh, what do I call this? A move from where that turnaround was like the size of that turnaround is identified, right? This is it, that the move was like considerably larger than itself. Like, see this little turnaround right here, but it's like twice the size of that turnaround, right? It's like it doubled itself. It went as high as it did there. So, it's like a 2 to 1, if you will. And if you look at it, ultimately, it's turned into a 3 almost. So, once again, if you had come in here at this point and done that thing earlier where I said, okay, I think price is going to go up above here, then click. And this is on a big old daily schedule, but you could have just been like all this time going, well, my stop is here. And then, okay, so back here, you would have locked it in and been like, okay, I'm making this little bit of profit for sure as it just continues to go up, 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 up. Or it's any time here you could have taken profit. You know what I mean? Which is probably what you would have done, because with this being days, at some point you would have just been like, man, I'm up here. Like, I'm here. Take that. That's 1 to 1. That's like in a week's time. And you really didn't. And this is where I too have to get my mind around too. Like, it's 1 to 1, but you really didn't spend the 1, right? You risked it. You didn't actually go spend it. I mean, that's the part, right? Like, because I was trying to explain this to my friend's son yesterday. Like, if I give you, because we were talking about another aspect, dividends, but it was like, well, that's not that much. And it's like, well, but if I give you $100 right now, and then come back tomorrow, or you give me $100 right now, and then tomorrow I'm going to give you 105. That's not a lot of money. $5. Damn, that quick in a day. That's pretty good. 5%. Especially if you figure you can scale that up. And instead of 100, it could be 1,000. And instead of 5, it would be 50. Instead, you know what I mean? You can just scale it up. Also, because the price didn't actually ever get all the way down, right? Like, as I'm looking at the price going in here, say I had done that buy stop thing there, then price never would have got down here for me to actually have to pay the, let's just call it $200. It's not, because it just depends on different. It depends on the exact prices that you're covering, the exact number of ticks, what they call it, that you're covering. But let's just say it's $200. I never spent that $200. It got tied up in my account. Like, I couldn't take it out and go buy something with it. I couldn't go elsewhere with it. It's still locked up. But it never went that low. If I did it here on this chart, right? If I did the click, 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 and I said, oh, it's green, let me do this. And I bought it, do a buy stop. It didn't even go in until it went all the way down here. And then at some point it popped up here, which actually that would have happened earlier because it would have opened here and closed here. So at some point it opened up down here and then shot up here, bought my order. So now I'm in the trade and I'm coming down and watching the price come back down all the way down here, and I'm freaking out because my stop loss is down here, and it gets down here and then immediately, boom, well, hello, immediately starts to work out and goes on back up, works its way up, 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 finally gets over and goes on up. And at that point, nothing happens except you ride along with it. And it's where you make that decision. I mean, it's on you to make that decision. Because as I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's like you could have said, "I'm going to get in when it gets above that body," rather than wait until for it to get all the way up to here. I mean, you're yeah, you're making. I mean, it's logic and precision and luck, and I mean, it's a but it's not like a blind luck. I mean, yeah. I mean, you can see once again, it came down. This is within this trade, right? Within this same one here that I'm talking about. And then it comes above the price and it goes on up and ultimately gets here. But within all of that, here's what happens is it stalls itself out. So again, I say I'm probably going to get out up here because I'm looking at this and going like, bam, I made this. Why do I want to wait to make this when I've already made this, right? Especially if I've already come from here to here, that's at or about 1 to 1 for me. I'm good with that. So at some point, I would have taken that profit right there. I can't say unless I'm in the trade because I might have been like, no, I don't know. But I think I'm 1 to 1 and I'm out. I should be. And so that's what I'm going to say I would have done. Now I'm watching this once again, and it's going on day to day because every day I'm looking at this. This is why it's on my AM everyday markup. So I'm watching it go just sideways and thinking I can't really do anything with it right now. There's no move for me within that. If I'm maintaining myself on a daily activity or daily chart with 4 hour potential to look and see what's happening, because at various points I might look a little closer to figure out what that means or what there's reasons you might go leave or you can keep going, and that's why I'm trying to keep myself limited to going that daily and that 4 hour, because if I do that I can make the larger moves with hopefully at least sometimes a smaller turnaround to work with or to work from. Yeah, because once you get into them, okay. So once again, yeah, that week. Oh, that was that gap there that just was there that I was trying to figure out what that was, and then there's this other gap here. Um, so you see this. I would have seen this coming down, down, down. I'm a long biased person. I like. I'm just not haven't wrapped my head around shorts as of yet. Not wrap my head around what they are. That's when you're betting that it's going down. You in effect borrow or put yourself on the line to pay for shares at this price. And then your hope is to sell them or to buy them at this price. And your hope is to sell them at a cheaper price. No. You put yourself on the hook to sell them at this price. Right? So you put yourself on the hook to sell them right here. And then you will buy them when the price gets lower. This is why I have trouble with it, because I'm selling something that I don't have. I'm selling it before I buy it. But you put yourself on the hook to sell it, so you will sell it at this price. So go ahead and sell it, Mr. Broker Man. Sell it for 100 right now. I will give you that 100 at some point. You got all my money, so I can't take it out until you get your money. So that 100, I'm waiting for it to go down. Right. I'm waiting for it to go down. So when it gets down here to 90, then I go ahead and buy it because I sold it at 100. So I get to keep the 10. Don't ask me why, because I can't tell you why. But the broker's just there because the broker's like, this dude wants to sell them for 90 and you want to buy them for 90. So he's getting his commission on that. But he's getting you with this dude because you already promised this other dude that you were going to give him these at 100. So that dude's on the line for his 100 to you through the broker, right? So you now have committed to sell him a stock for 100. He's committed and giving his money to the broker to hold for that 100. You're waiting to do that, right? So when you now this happens all too frequently, the price goes up, and then the price goes up, and you still got to sell that stock for the 100, even though you got to buy it for 105 or 110. Let's just keep with tens. So you lost 10 on the deal. Makes sense? Because you got to take 10 out of your pocket to give the broker with the 100 that you already got the other dude to put up. I don't know if this is helping you at all. It's helping me, which is the purpose. This is my crazy train. You just riding along. So the broker has secured the $100 from that dude and is sitting there holding it. And secured your promise to pay, your promise to give a stock for $100. You go down here, the broker has somebody over there who wants it for 90 or sell it for 90, so you buy it for 90. Now you have that stock that you can give the broker to finish that transaction. That dude walks away with his $100. You walk away or with his stock, and you walk away with your $10 in profit. Or if the price went up, that guy gets his stock for $100 or his stock, and you got 110 that you got to pay using that 100. So you got to take 10 out of your account. Okay. Which is why I don't short. I mean, I do because it's as easy as click, and the slider shows you. Like, see, watch. If you go to trade it and you want to sell, it's that quick. I mean, you just kind of go like, okay, I'm going to sell it there, and the stop loss up instead of down this time. Because if you go down, see, it gives you that big red thing. Because what are you talking about, knucklehead? You can't do that. And then your profit gets taken when it gets lower. So all you have to do is go, this is how much it'll be, and this is you need to do more, and you need to understand it more if you're doing it. That's why I don't do it until I understand it. And I understand it this much. That's how much I do it. So again, I'm continuing through my deal here. So I am marking my dailies. I didn't do weekly on this. See, this is part of the problem, and today is like my first day really setting my list up, and then I spent some time trying to figure out how to get this YouTube record so I could have notes to go over all this stuff with myself or be able to go back and look at some of this stuff. So yeah, there we are. I've done my weekly on there, and now I'll go weekly daily on this one because I want to have what I want to be able to do. And this chart, okay, this chart is MNQ1, which is the mini, or rather the micro NASDAQ NQ. And then the one means it's a continuous deal, because the reality of it is, if you look at everything is slow because I got too much stuff going on. And really, I need to just close some of these things. And that might help speed things up. But the MNQ is the micro NASDAQ, and then it's on this exchange, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I think that's the one. That's not it. Anyway, they're quarterly contracts. So we're on the contract actually for December. And if I go on to the December contract, and then I'm in this daily thing, you'll see that it just kind of starts September 23. But if I go to the MNQ continuous that I was on earlier, right, it goes on back to when they started doing these futures contracts a couple years ago. And this just kind of blends them together. I am using this one until I get word that it is just the stupid wrong way to do it. I'm using this one to do my stuff, do my markings, because then I can look at this over time and look back and see how I was thinking about different stuff. Like, oh, I drew a zone here and then it stopped out and then it did this, because like ultimately the same thing on, like, this is a contract. This one is the December contract, so it's still there. Where's, see, I don't have the other ones. Yeah, like, see, this is an older contract, so it's expired. So it's no longer traded. All these zones that I drew and everything don't matter, except that they kind of do, I think, because notice that this was stuff that I was drawing in July, and activity was happening into September. So September on that MNQU, the September pricing was here. Let me just look at this and figure this out. That's August. And then it ended in September. Okay. So the contract went, so the 2 weeks on the weekly bar, the second week before, this is what they look like. That boom, 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 that dip right there. And now if we go look at the beginning, or that is August through September 16th. And then if we go to, that's the U, so we go MNQ, and then we left that to go to the July one. See, it's kind of the same, not exactly, because this was a little more tight, And that may be because this represents the historical of that one before this one actually took effect. Because they're quarterly, which would be September, October, well, which would be October, November, December. Well, it would end before December. So it would be September, October, and November. So yeah, like it started. That other one stopped on the 16th. So yeah, this is where things are confusing about the whole market thing, because there's the whole issue of what we're dealing with these futures contracts, and now we're talking about indexes. I don't even fully understand, other than in effect. This is my diary, my journal, my understanding as it grows. I am not. I feel it necessary to tell you again and again. Don't be listening to me, because I'm still trying. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm even thinking, let alone what I believe or know. Um, but in effect, we're all ponying up to the table. Millions and millions of people around the world are ponying up to the table and competing, gambling, betting on the price. I don't know how you can just characterize things multiple ways. Um, Making an investment in the fact that that price is going to go up. However it is you want to, or down, whatever it is you want to, however you want to characterize it, there are millions of people involved, and we're all at the table, as I'm conceptualizing it, competing against one another. And when you do that, I think you just have to understand that there's a bunch of knuckleheads like me out here who don't understand what the hell they are doing, and they are getting separated from their money. And I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing before I get separated from my money, so I can take your money. But hopefully you'll get to understanding so that you're not the one either. And again, that's just me thinking. But as I look at the thing that I was talking about earlier with that I'm gonna call that the James Brown. That James Brown right here, that turnaround right here, once again, you see the reds coming down, and then if you say to yourself, I'm gonna trade it when it gets above this, and when it gets, and keep it here. Like, I'm gonna make this my zone. I'm gonna get in when it gets above that price. Well, it's gonna go above, and you're gonna be deep in the muck and feel like a schmuck. Like, maybe I didn't do it right, until you see that it is working fine and you get your 1 to 1. And if you continue at that point, you're like 2 to 1. And if you continue at that point, you're at 3 to 1. If you got that kind of patience, I don't know how you're still in it at this rate, unless you just locked it. As I've heard some people say, when you get to that 2 to 1, lock it at a no trade situation, right? If you come here and lock it, once you get above here, you say, I'm not taking my profit. I'm just going to make this my stop loss now. So worst case scenario is I didn't make any money. I'm not going to lose a dime. But you're still in the trade, and it comes all the way back to you almost right here, and then goes on up for what is that? I don't even know how to do this. If you're out there, tell me a better way to do this. But you're going one time, two times. That ain't exactly even, but three times, four. That's four times. Five times. You go five times and you don't take your money. Well, come on, man. What you trying to do here? What's your point? Uh-oh. I didn't realize I was on here. A, that long, and B, it's like lunchtime. I need to find out. All right, so that's checking that. Hey, what's going, man? I figured you did. I got stuck doing my thing. I ended up on camera for an hour and a half. I wasn't expecting, but you still thinking about lunch, or you tied up? That's cool if you are. I got it. Oh, that's probably too late because I didn't eat. I ain't ate since last night. Uh, shoot, we'll get it hooked up. I mean, you still here? We get it hooked up next week or this weekend? Yeah, I'm tied up this weekend. Okay, well, shoot, I'll get with you next week. All right, later. All right. So yeah, that's what could have happened, or with that little spot right there. I mean, I'm just looking in the same thing to be said here. If you waited, I guess that's a green candle, but those are all red, and that's on a weekly. I mean, which means you're waiting a long time for some of that stuff to happen. But if you come down, there it is. There it proved itself. It went up there. You got your money. You got out. See, I'm gonna have to, like, we say red candles, but this is, although not red, has all the characteristics of a red, of the thing, right? It's still that downward push, and there's the turnaround. I mean, I would just have to play with that. I will continue to play with that. So those are the ones I've done. That one. Now I got to figure out my lunch situation. So goodbye, and let me end this and figure out how to get it online. Your stream will stop immediately. So good day, folks. If you know how to answer any of my questions, let me know. And if you want to learn what I'm learning, let me know.